In 1979, a seismic shift occurred in the heart of the Middle East. Iran, a nation long viewed as a steadfast Western ally, underwent a profound transformation, the Islamic Revolution. This wasn't merely a change in government, it was a societal upheaval that would send ripples across the globe, fundamentally altering the geopolitical landscape of the entire region. But to understand its impact, we must first look at the Iran that was and the forces that propelled it toward revolution. Part 1. The Seeds of Discontent, Iran under the Shah. Before 1979, Iran was ruled by Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, an autocratic monarch who envisioned a rapidly modernized, westernized nation. His White Revolution brought land reforms, expanded education, and granted women more rights, aiming to transform Iran into a regional powerhouse. Yet beneath this veneer of progress, discontent simmered. Politically, the Shah's regime was repressive. The dreaded Savak, his secret police, stifled dissent through surveillance, arrests, and torture, leaving no legitimate outlet for political grievances. This centralization of power alienated diverse groups, from traditional clerics to burgeoning intellectual circles. Economically, while Iran experienced impressive growth fueled by oil, the wealth was unevenly distributed. Rampant corruption, high inflation, and a widening gap between the rich and the poor created a disaffected urban underclass, many of whom were displaced peasants drawn to the cities by the promise of work that rarely materialized. Socially, the Shah's aggressive westernization policies were deeply divisive. While embraced by some urban elites, they alienated conservative factions and rural communities who saw them as an assault on Islamic values and traditional identity. A profound cultural chasm emerged, paving the way for a powerful counter-movement. Part 2. The Revolutionary Wave, Key Events and Figures. Into this cauldron of discontent stepped Ayatollah Khomeini, a charismatic Shia cleric, exiled from since 1964 for his outspoken opposition to the Shah. From afar, Khomeini became the unifying voice of the revolution, articulating a vision of an Islamic government that resonated with a broad spectrum of the population: students, intellectuals, merchants, and the dispossessed masses. The revolutionary tide began to swell in late 1977 and early 1978. A critical turning point came in January 1978, following an inflammatory newspaper article denigrating Khomeini. This sparked student protests in Qom, which were violently suppressed, leading to a cycle of mourning ceremonies and further protests across the country. Key moments escalated the crisis. August 1978, the mysterious Cinema Rex fire in Abadan, killing hundreds, widely blamed by Savak, further inflamed public anger. September 8, 1978, known as Black Friday, Shah's troops fired on unarmed demonstrators in Tehran's Jaleh Square, killing hundreds. This act shattered any remaining trust in the monarchy. October 1978, a crippling oil workers' strike brought Iran's vital industry to a halt. December 1978, massive demonstrations during the holy days of Tasu'a and Ashura, involving millions, signaled the irreversible decline of the Shah's authority. Facing overwhelming opposition and mounting pressure, the Shah, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, departed Iran on January 16, 1979, ostensibly for a vacation. Just 2 weeks later, on February 1, 1979, Ayatollah Khomeini made his triumphant return to Iran, greeted by millions. Within 10 days, on February 11th, the monarchy officially collapsed, ushering in a new era for Iran. Part 3. The Ideological Core, Principles of the Islamic Revolution. At the heart of the Islamic Revolution lay a potent and distinct ideology, meticulously crafted by Ayatollah Khomeini. Its foundational principle was Velayat-e Faqih, or the guardianship of the jurist. This doctrine asserted that in the absence of the hidden imam, supreme political and religious authority should reside with a leading Islamic jurist, the supreme leader, ensuring that all state affairs conform to Islamic law or Sharia. This was a radical departure from traditional Shia political quietism. The revolution's stated goals were multifaceted. Religiously, it aimed to establish a true Islamic Republic where Sharia law was paramount and to foster a pious society. Politically, it sought to eradicate despotism and foreign domination, epitomized by the slogan, "Neither East nor West, Islamic Republic." It also championed self-sufficiency. Socially, the revolution promised social justice, the elimination of poverty, and support for the mustadafun, the oppressed. It emphasized an Islamic identity, rejecting Western cultural degradation. This unique blend of religious authority, anti-imperialism, and social justice became the blueprint for the new Iran.
Part 4. Iran transformed. Internal changes. The immediate aftermath of the revolution saw a rapid and dramatic transformation of Iranian society and governance. The establishment of the Islamic Republic was swiftly formalized through a referendum in March 1979, overwhelmingly endorsing the new system. A new constitution, ratified in December 1979, enshrined Khomeini as the supreme leader, a position of unparalleled power. Governance underwent a fundamental shift. Traditional state institutions were either dismantled or brought under clerical control. The regular army was supplemented by the Islamic Revolutionary Corps, the IRGC, a parallel military force tasked with protecting the revolution's ideals. Revolutionary tribunals were established, leading to widespread purges and executions of former regime officials and perceived opponents. Societal shifts were profound and immediate. Islamic dress codes, particularly for women, became compulsory, replacing the more Western attire of the Shah's era. Public spaces were segregated, and Islamic morality laws were strictly enforced. Educational curricula were revised to align with Islamic principles. While the revolution promised social justice and aid for the poor, economic policies struggled under the weight of war and sanctions, leading to periods of hardship. Human rights also became a significant concern, with widespread suppression of political dissent and the persecution of religious minorities.
Part 5. Reshaping the Middle East. Geopolitical Dynamics. The reverberations of Iran's Islamic Revolution were felt acutely across the Middle East, fundamentally reshaping its geopolitical dynamics. One of the most immediate and devastating consequences was the Iran-Iraq War, launched by Saddam Hussein in September 1980. Saddam, emboldened by Iran's post-revolutionary chaos and a purged military, aimed to seize territory and curb the revolution's influence. However, the war galvanized the nascent Islamic Republic, fostering a fierce sense of national and religious unity. It became a crucible for the Revolutionary Guard, consolidating its power and ideological commitment. The conflict dragged on for 8 years, devastating both nations and drawing in other regional and international powers, many of whom covertly or overtly supported Iraq, seeking to contain revolutionary Iran. The revolution also ignited the rise of political Islam throughout the Muslim world. It offered a compelling model of an Islamic state that had successfully defied both superpowers. This inspired Islamist movements from Saudi Arabia and Egypt to Lebanon and Pakistan. Iran actively fostered proxy groups, most notably helping establish Hezbollah in Lebanon, which became a potent non-state actor in regional conflicts. Relations with neighboring states, particularly the Sunni-led Gulf monarchies like Saudi Arabia, deteriorated sharply. They viewed Iran's revolutionary fervor and calls for the overthrow of monarchies as an existential threat, deepening sectarian fault lines between Sunni and Shia. This antagonism continues to fuel proxy conflicts and regional rivalries to this day.
Part 6. A New World Order, International Relations. Beyond the Middle East, the Islamic Revolution dramatically altered Iran's relationship with global powers, most notably the United States. The Iran hostage crisis, beginning on November 4, 1979, when radical students seized the U.S. Embassy in Tehran and held 52 American diplomats hostage for 444 days, became a defining moment. This act, sanctioned by Khomeini, solidified the anti-American stance of the new regime, radicalized the revolution, and profoundly shaped U.S.-Iran relations for decades, establishing a deep-seated enmity and mistrust that persists. It led to an immediate break in diplomatic ties and the imposition of crippling sanctions. Iran's foreign policy shifted from being a pro-Western pillar to adopting a staunchly anti-imperialist stance, encapsulated by neither East nor West. This meant rejecting alignment with either the U.S. or the Soviet Union. Iran became a vocal proponent of Third World solidarity, supporting various anti-Western and liberation movements globally. Relations with other international powers became complex. With the United Kingdom, ties were often strained. With the collapse of the Soviet Union, Russia and China emerged as key allies for Iran, particularly in the face of persistent Western sanctions, fostering economic and strategic partnerships that continue to influence global power dynamics. Part 7. Historical Interpretations, Understanding a Complex Revolution. Decades later, the 1979 Islamic Revolution continues to be a subject of intense historical debate and diverse interpretations, reflecting its profound complexity. On its causes, some historians emphasize the Shah's autocratic rule, its brutal suppression of dissent, and the growing political vacuum. Others point to economic disparities, rapid urbanization, and inflation as primary drivers of popular discontent. Still others highlight the cultural alienation caused by forced westernization, leading to a conservative religious backlash. A significant school of thought underlines the pivotal role of Ayatollah Khomeini's charismatic leadership and the potent unifying power of his revolutionary ideology. What often surprises scholars is that the revolution occurred in a relatively prosperous nation without a previous military defeat or severe financial crisis. Regarding its consequences and nature, interpretations also diverge. Some view the revolution as a betrayal of its initial popular and anti-dictatorship aspirations, arguing it transformed into a clerical power grab that replaced one form of authoritarianism with another, albeit an Islamic one. Critics highlight the suppression of political freedoms, the curtailment of women's rights, and human rights abuses under the Islamic Republic. Conversely, supporters emphasize its success in achieving true national independence and resisting foreign domination, offering a unique model of governance for the Muslim world. They argue that it addressed long-standing social injustices and established a state rooted in Islamic values. These varied perspectives underscore the revolution's enduring impact and the ongoing struggle to fully grasp its legacy. Part 8. The Enduring Legacy, a Revolution's Ripple Effect. The enduring legacy of the 1979 Islamic Revolution is undeniable, continuing to shape Iran's trajectory and reverberate across the Middle East and global affairs. Domestically, the Islamic Republic remains a unique theocratic state, with the supreme leader and clerical establishment holding ultimate authority. While economic challenges persist, Iran has developed significant scientific and military capabilities, driven by a determination for self-sufficiency. Societal norms continue to be heavily influenced by Islamic principles, even as segments of the population push for greater freedoms and reforms. In foreign policy, Iran's commitment to the resistance axis against Western and Israeli influence remains a cornerstone. Its support for non-state actors and its pursuit of nuclear capabilities continue to be sources of regional tension and international concern. The relationship with the United States remains deeply adversarial, marked by sanctions and proxy conflicts. Regionally and globally, the revolution served as a powerful catalyst for political Islam, inspiring both Sunni and Shia movements and intensifying sectarian rivalries across the Middle East. It introduced a new form of statecraft that challenged traditional monarchies and secular republics, forever altering the regional political imagination. From the streets of Tehran to the halls of international diplomacy, the 1979 Islamic Revolution was a watershed moment. It fundamentally transformed a nation, ignited a new wave of political Islam, and reshaped the delicate balance of power in a vital region, leaving an indelible mark on the 20th century and continuing to influence the 21st.